This video will cover capitalization guidelines. There are two editing marks used for capitalization. Drawing 3 lines under a letter means the letter should be capitalized. Drawing a slash mark through a letter means the letter should be lowercased. For digital grading, instructors will likely use CAP to mark words that need to be capitalized, and LC for words that need to be lowercased. Rule number 1 is to capitalize the first word of a sentence and the first word of a quoted sentence. In the first example, a signal phrase states the author of the direct quote. The signal phrase is Carol Dweck argues, comma. The direct quote then starts with a capital letter. The second example is a blended quote, which means that the writer blended the direct quote into her sentence. When the direct quote is blended into a sentence, the first word doesn't get capitalized because there's no reason to pause. Let's read it. Carol Dweck argues that fixed mindsets develop a helpless or apathetic attitude toward effort, especially when it comes to challenging tasks. So notice that there's no pause here, which is why there's no comma. Yet in the signal phrase up here is set off with a comma because there's a pause. Carol Dweck argues, if parents want to give their children a gift, the best thing they can do is teach their children to love challenges, be intrigued by mistakes, enjoy effort, and keep on learning. That way their children don't have to be slaves of praise. They will have a lifelong way to build and repair their own confidence. Rule number 2 is to always capitalize the personal pronoun I. I represents a person. Rule number 3 is to capitalize titles and subtitles of works. A list of works appears on the left side of the screen. Examples include book, magazine, and article titles and subtitles. The capitalization rule appears on the right side of the screen. The first part of the rule is to capitalize the first and last word of the title. Always capitalize the first word and last word of the title. The second part of the rule is to capitalize all the other words in the title except the words listed under A, B, C, and D. So A, and D, the fanboys for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Fanboys is just a memory device to remember those words. The word to, and then the list of prepositions listed here on the screen. The first word of a subtitle gets capitalized because it's a new beginning. Subtitles are typically separated with a colon, but they can be separated by a question mark or an exclamation point. Let's look at some examples. In the first 4 examples, I've used the yellow to highlight where the division is between the title and the subtitle. In the first example, they've used a colon, the second one a question mark, the third one an exclamation point, and the fourth one a colon again. The colon is the most common punctuation used to divide a title and a subtitle. So notice that if we apply the rule here, again, the rule is always capitalize the first and last word of the title. So mindset is capitalized, as is the word success. The word the here would typically not be capitalized, but because it's the first word of the subtitle, it is capitalized. So the only word that's not capitalized here is the word of, which is on the preposition list. Same thing in number 2. Always capitalize the first word, always capitalize the last word. So what and art are capitalized. The word the, again, is capitalized because it comes after, it's the first word of the subtitle. Same thing with number 3 and number 4. And then number 5 is an example without a subtitle. So not all titles have subtitles. Notice that items 1 through 4 are in italics, and that's because they're all book titles. And example 5 is an article title, so it appears in quotation marks. Book covers show the title and subtitle by adjusting the font size. Notice that the title is in a larger font and the subtitle is in a smaller font. Notice that the Mindset book cover does not include the colon to separate the title from the subtitle. That's because book covers are artistic. So typically you would find that colon on the title page of the book. So if we flip to here, you'll see in the title page of the Mindset book, we see that they do use the colon to divide the title from the subtitle. So as long as you remember that the title and subtitle are separated by a colon, just remember to add that, otherwise go to the title page. Here in the second example, you can see that they're using an exclamation point. So we would not add a colon, that would be the division. So it's either going to be the colon, the exclamation point, or the question mark to divide the title and the subtitle. Rule number 4 is to capitalize proper nouns but not common nouns. A noun names a person, place, or thing. Proper nouns get capitalized because they name specific people, places, and things. Common nouns don't get capitalized because they are general terms for people, places, and things. Let's look at some examples. So for people here, one common noun is the word boyfriend. When we name the specific boyfriend, then that person's name then gets capitalized. Common noun for a place would be hospital or high school. But when we name a specific hospital or high school, then we capitalize that specific place, in this case, St. Jude Medical Center. A common noun is a car, but when we name a specific brand, then we capitalize it, as in here is the Volkswagen Beetle. Family and professional titles follow that same concept. If we're naming a specific person with the title, then we capitalize the title and the name, as in here as in Governor Davis. Whereas in the second sentence, Davis is not included in the title, so the word governor does not get capitalized. Same thing for uncle. Uncle Joe, because they're together, both get capitalized. Over on here on this side, the word uncle does not. When we use a title as the individual's name, the title then gets capitalized. So mom and dad are typically not capitalized. But here I can replace the word mom and dad with Marie and Jose. After Marie and Jose changed their eating habits, they lost weight. So basically you're saying after mom, Marie, and dad, Jose, changed their eating habits, they lost weight. So the word dad is representing the name Jose, and the word mom is representing the word Marie. Notice that when you put my in front of mom and dad, you can't replace them with their names. We wouldn't say my Marie is here. When we take away the my, though, you see that it would be capitalized. Marie and Jose are here. Mom and dad are here. That can be a tricky one. Just think about if you can replace the title with the name, then you would capitalize it. The dictionary is a great place to check your work for capitalization. So notice in this example that the word bandage is not capitalized in the dictionary, but the word Band-Aid is, because it's a trademarked name essentially. So if you look at the dictionary entry, and if you have to look at the entry and not like any advertisements or anything around it, that the dictionary entry has the B in bandage lowercase, it has the B in Band-Aid capitalized. So the dictionary is a great place for you to go check to see if a word should be capitalized or not. So again, Band-Aid is capitalized because it's a proper noun, bandage is not. Another example is the word watercraft. Watercraft is the common name for boating and water sports or any boat or ship, whereas jet ski is a trademark name. So the dictionary entry here has the J and the S capitalized, whereas the W in watercraft is not. Rule number 5 is the capital initials and acronyms. An initial represents the first letter of a name, as in Walt Disney's middle initial is E, which stands for Elias. An acronym uses initials to form a word. For example, the acronym for Mothers Against Drunk Drivers is MAD. OPEC stands for Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. NASA stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. And AWOL stands for Absent Without Official Leave. Initialisms form abbreviations that pronounce each letter individually. For example, the initialism for the Environmental Protection Agency is EPA. So notice EP, we say each letter EPA, we don't say it as a word. NBA stands for National Basketball Association, NFL stands for National Football League, FAA stands for Federal Aviation Administration, EU stands for European Union. In academic writing, spell out the abbreviation the first time it is used, unless you can be sure your readers will know what the initials represent, and then put the acronym in parentheses. In the rest of the writing, the abbreviation is just used. Here's an example. The Modern Language Association, MLA in parentheses, letting the reader know that MLA stands for Modern Language Association, sets guidelines for documenting research and academic essays. MLA was established in 1883. So notice that MLA is not in parentheses anymore because you've already established what it means here. So from now on in the essay, you can just use the abbreviation because you've established for the reader what that abbreviation means. Well, that's it. You always want to create a memory device. The memory device I use for capitalization is FitPaw. Think of a strong man. So again, first words of a sentence and a direct quote, personal pronoun I, titles of works, always the first word, always the last word, important words in between. They're all important except for the list that you've been provided. A, and the, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so, to, and the list of prepositions. Proper nouns name specific people, places, and things, so they get capitalized. Common nouns do not get capitalized. Acronyms and initials get capitalized because they represent words, abbreviations. If you want to get some practice in this, you can go to bandigatutor.org. That will be up and running soon.